The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 12th day of August, 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Linda's. I'm Jamel Hartman, along with my sister, Michaela Ann, and of course, my sister, Leanna Lambert, who will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break. Michaela, we're one day closer to the weekend. How are you doing?
Ooh, I am good today. I slept. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't really want to wake up, but that's just being a little lazy, right? So I slept, I woke up, did my meditation, and I'm like a big proponent of a cold shower because there's like so much like scientific benefits, and it's also hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no, like cold, and then like cold shower on my head every morning and every night before I go to bed. It does it for me.
I haven't had a cold shower since they tortured me at the Bermuda Regiment. And I just have some bad
You
memories.
try it.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like my friend Allison, she does it. And she tagged me in it. This was months ago. And I was like, yeah, no, boo. No. But then I started doing it because like I just find I'm tired when I wake up, right? It's just I'm just tired. I'm permanently tired. So I wake up, I do my meditation, and then I'm like, all right, cold shower, let me get it. And I do it, and it's just like, this is everything.
Well, folks, I think I may have to try it. And look, if I have what's it called? Hypothermia, I'm blaming Michaela. I'm always exaggerating. Don't mind me. Good morning to you, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. Another good one today as we welcome the 2001 recipient of the Duperreault Fellowship Award, Treasure Tannock, for a conversation. The Daily Play is a name that plays. And look, Michaela, but Michaela's been killing it in the Daily Play, right, folks? So today, we've got her. I'm not telling you lies today. Like, you can trust me. Today is the day we take the Michaela Ian Dunn. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I hope you're ready because, she's ready.
Yeah. I think, truth be told, like, if this was a test, she would have, like, passed it, and she could fail, like, the next 20 questions, and she'd still, like, get an A. But enough about Michaela and her talent in getting these questions right. But, look, today, like I said, we have Treasure Tannock coming up later, but here's a question of the day. Let's get right to this. We often have conversations about Bermuda and what's going on in the country, whether it's tourism, the economy, health, education. There's so many different things we can discuss. So the question this morning is very broad as we try to get to a place of understanding, but also solutions and solving the problems that we discuss, right? So here's today's question. What is Bermuda's biggest challenge and how can we overcome it? Biggest challenge. And I know it's a very broad question, right? But what is the biggest challenge in terms of, like, I mean, I don't usually go first, but for me, if you ask me Bermuda's biggest challenge, I'm going to say education. Because I think out of education, everything else is solved through it. And when I say education, I'm not necessarily saying formal education. Because some people may say, well, the education system.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I don't agree.
Right. I mean education in terms of just people reading up a book. Picking up a book and reading things that they have no idea about. Mm-hmm. I mean, going into spaces that you're comfortable with just to learn rather than having a view of those spaces from the outside of what you've been told. So for me, I think Bermuda's biggest challenge and how we can overcome it is education. And it's really about, like, I scan social media, and, even my conversation with Dr. Hewitt Brown last Friday at lunch, and Teo Dill said it years ago. But now with social media, you see it so often, you can really tell. And there is a difference. So anyone who takes what I'm saying offensive, that's on you. I don't apologize what I'm about to say. And I am grateful for being in the position to say what I'm about to say. But you can really tell the difference between those who have never left Bermuda,
yes,
and those who have.
yes,
And leaving Bermuda, not just in college, right? Like, I'm not talking about formal education, but living, right?
yes.
Living in outside of your environment is one of the best opportunities to grow, Michaela.
Listen, so I'm just going to piggyback on that. When I was 12, my parents made the decision that my mother was going to go back to school and she was going to take the kids, me, my brother, and my sister. And I kicked and screamed. I did not want to leave Bermuda. I was like, why on earth would you do this to me right before I turned 13? Like, why would you do this? Kicked and screamed, right? I will never forget. My father sat me down. He looked at me in the eye and he said, Michaela, Bermuda will always be here.
Mm.
I never forgot that. He said this at 12, and this is my dad who went away to boarding school at 16 or whatever. And I never, ever forgot that. So for me, leaving Bermuda at 12 was the best decision that was made for me.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I cannot wait until I can send my son to boarding school so that he can see. I mean, he's ready. He would go tomorrow, but so that he can see life is so much more. I mean, we travel, we do experience other cultures and things, but like you said, that key point, living outside of Bermuda, big difference. But I will say, in my opinion, Bermuda's biggest challenge right now is the cost of living.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge thing for me because in Bermuda, if you make $100,000 a year, which used to be a lot of money, that's nothing anymore. By the time you take out insurance, taxes, etc., you're bringing in under $7,000 a month. You have children, you have private school, you have a mortgage, etc. That's nothing. That's nothing. So, and I say that at the higher end of the spectrum in terms of someone who makes six figures. If you're looking at someone who, like we've said, is a cashier in a store, I just don't know how people are doing it. I don't know how people are making it. The cost of insurance is astronomical and it just goes up year after year after year. And I feel like the healthy people suffer. The cost of groceries is ridiculous. There was a whole thing on Magis the other day about a restaurant on Sargasso charging $28 for fish curry. And I wasn't surprised by it because that's just what things cost. But then a whole conversation spiraled around the cost of goods in Bermuda and why restaurants have to charge what they charge because the rents are high, the electricity, all of these things. So I just feel like if we can get to a place, and I had this conversation last night with a friend of mine, if we can get to a place where we can take the cost of living and decrease it, I'm not the person who's going to tell people how to do that, but I feel like the cost of living, I mean, my son is 13. I cannot pay less than $150 for a pair of sneakers for him. That's insane. You know what I mean? So it's like, yes, I do make what people consider good money, but it only goes so far because everything is just wildly expensive.
It's all relative. I think good money, it's definitely
of course.
Okay, Michaela's is cost of living, and the question is, what is Bermuda's biggest challenge and how can we overcome it? Rick Olson says absolutely education. Elmore Warren says lack of creativity is our biggest challenge. Monica Dunstan, Michaela.
Facts. Education is directly linked to national development, and there were many fixes that could have happened before this massive transformation plan. But I'm just a teacher. What do I know? Listen, Monica, listen.
Wow.
Listen.
Janae Pereira Edna says, yes, I was in Canada for 9 years and Bahamas for a year. I always told people Bermuda will always be there.
Yes.
Sonia Clark says, I believe healthcare is a national...
as a nation.
Sorry, as a nation. IJ, that's what I'm just saying, right? IJS.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's a lot of options in education. A nation healthcare is critical to the sustainability of life. Karen Edward Simmons says not everyone has the means to live outside Bermuda other than going to school. Well, I think everyone does, and I think Michael Dunkley took a lot of flack for saying years ago, when the OBA was in power. I think he was the premier, and he said that no, Bermudians have the option or right to go, leave Bermuda, and they do. Truthfully, they do. But again, not everyone. I guess the point that Karen's making, and she's right, where I agree with her, people should not have to leave Bermuda. They shouldn't have to leave Bermuda
for a good quality of life.
Or for a good quality of life.
Right.
However,
but I disagree with what she's saying, though, because if you can live in Bermuda, you can live much better in other countries. Unless you are a person who lives in Bermuda and maybe you inherited a property that needs no maintenance and you don't have to work. Okay, fine, But I think, for instance, like when I lived in Newcastle is a great city. It's small. It's the most northern city of England. Wildly inexpensive. I would spend 20 quid a week on groceries for myself. That's it.
Yeah.
I could go out to eat every day if I wanted to. So I don't agree.
Leanne Fitzgerald Michaela.
Leaving Bermuda at 46 years old was absolutely the best decision my husband made, because I was not trying to leave my home, Bermuda, the land of food and plenty. However, 15 years later, I'm a much better person.
Elmore Warren says cost of living is easy to solve. People can solve their problem, i.e., I have not seen a dentist for 20 years since my dentist died. He was the best. No new cavities and 2 fillings. Now, some of you will read this and say, oh, that's just nasty, Elmore. But actually, I think his point is actually very valid. Is there a look at what we spend, right? On how we spend it. If we do make some decisions because remember, think about it. We've been told that we need to visit a dentist every 6 months, which I do, right? Every 4 months. We've been told that. But who's to say we shouldn't be going every 2 years? Who's to say we can't make that decision to cut back? So I think that's more, tell me if I'm wrong, that's your point, saying that some of these norms that we have become comfortable with.
Yes.
Probably if we cut back on the norms, we would probably be better off.
And I mean, I get his point in that. I don't think that the cost of living is easy to solve, because, for instance, if you take that, like I wear glasses, right? In my insurance, it covers getting my eyes tested every 2 years. Do I really need to get my eyes tested every 2 years at 35? My eyes haven't changed since I've been wearing, well, at least in the last 5 years, they haven't changed. So I go and do it because I've already paid for it. But if there was an option for me not to pay for it, I'd probably, take that option because I don't find it necessary.
Yeah. Tamara Richardson says, maybe our largest challenge is we can't agree what our major problems are. Therefore, we keep spiraling. We need a national vision outside of politics. Ooh, there we go. And a plan we can all get behind to achieve that. Now, I want to touch on the part where she says outside of politics, because one of the things I've really tried to push, especially on this show, is that our problems are solvable outside of politics, but we give so much up to politicians that we've made them comfortable almost in believing that the people need us so that they can get what they want. I think I could be wrong, but I think that's one of the angles she's taken there. But again, we can't agree on what our biggest challenges are. Michaela says cost of living. I say education, and my reason for education, because every problem, in my opinion, comes from education. Like when I say education, let's see how things work in other spaces, and how would they work in Bermuda? How could we even better that in Bermuda?
And I just feel like everyone's always talking about education, right? And it's valid. It's valid. But like I said, if you go to school, just say you go to school, I don't know, be an accountant or whatever. And just say you make decent money being an accountant, but for whatever reason, there isn't much upward trajectory or whatever. So you spent all this money going out to be an accountant. Maybe you're making $120,000 a year in your managerial position, which, let's be frank, that's not a lot of money. So it's like, yes, you can go and get educated, but if all you're doing is working and working and working for not that much money, and then you don't have a quality of life because everything is so expensive because you decided to buy a piece of the rock and your mortgage is $3,500 a month, and then you really want your kids to have a great education, so you're putting them in private school, and that's $2,000 plus a month. You know what I mean? It's just like, we can preach and bang this education drum over and over and over, which I agree. I believe in education, but if we're not going to sit here and decrease the cost of living or figure that out, the money is just not adding up.
But I think this goes back, because for those who are just tuning in, I don't want people to distort my message. When I say education, I'm not talking about schooling. It's a big difference.
Oh, I'm not talking about your view. I'm talking about the main view that people keep saying.
Yeah.
Because people keep saying people aren't getting good jobs because they're not educated, and that's just not true.
I don't agree with that. I don't. I think, look, at the end of the day, and this is another topic we have to talk about, but
of course,
people keep spending all this money on college and going to college, and at the end of the day, I'm going to pick on some businesses. Let's use one of our sponsors or partners. Like, they may be looking for a lead pharmacist or a general manager, right? They're not looking to see what your degree is necessarily, or see what school you went, or what your GPA was. They're looking at, okay, what experience, a good experience, right?
Yeah.
What successful track record do you have of doing the job that will be required to be done? But so many, I think, formally, we're stuck on this. Let me spend a whole pile of money on a degree and then come back and either yell at government because I can't find a job. Our problems are fixable without the government. Someone agrees with you, Kale.
Yes, agreed, Michaela. The cost of living is one of the biggest challenges we face. It's a difficult one because we import so many goods. Finding ways to reduce the cost of items we bring and redirect that money towards something else. I agree. And again, this is a conversation that I had last night with a friend. We were talking about ways that are, out of the box and innovative to increase the amount of revenue that we bring into the island, because I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to dog politicians, but the people who are in positions of power are generally out of touch. They're generally out of touch. They're generally older. So they don't really understand what the young people want, or they understand it, but they look at us as inexperienced. So we don't know what we're talking about. And it's just really unfortunate, because I just feel like there's so much that we could be doing. But we just want to be this, we're Bermuda, we're this luxury place. And I'm not trying to knock tourism. I feel like with Charles Jeffers II, he's very new into the role, and I feel like he's going to bring about big changes. I hope. I feel like he's a visionary like that.
I think he's doing a horrible job. No, I'm joking. Well, no, I
feel like he's going to do it, but it takes time. But at the same time, it's just like, tourism is another big challenge. Like, we cannot. We cannot not talk about the pink elephant in the room.
You know what's crazy? I am shocked. Nobody
said it.
And I was actually shocked. Like, when I reached out to you to discuss this, I thought that people were immediately going to go for tourism. And it shows something. It tells me something. The conversation changes. The perspective changes over time. Why? I don't know. But let's get through some more comments before we bring Leanna in. Elmore Warren says, "You're right, Mel. Seems nasty, but that's the point. Yes, also we must change habits. My teeth are in great shape. Education is experience. We turned into education into classroom based on a colonial structure, which is why we are still at the back of the bus. Remember, education in Bermuda is a Black people problem."
That's a really good point.
Anika D. Shields says, "Have you seen the stats for accountants in Bermuda and the number of foreign accountants who have been on island 20 plus years?" I think we shared those earlier this year, stats from the Department of Statistics. And here's that CEO you were talking bad about. This it was not me. Charles Jeffers II says, "I'm not sure that any of our opportunities are or need to be identified as the biggest. They are all intertwined. We all have many things that we need to focus on." And that's a good point, Charles. And part of the conversation. They are intertwined, and that's why, for me, education is the root that creates the tree that has all the branches of everything.
Right.
That's just how I saw it. Rick Olson says, "Leaving Bermuda to broaden your horizon and open your mind is invaluable." Kale, so let's wrap it up with a couple more comments. Monica Dunstan, and Kathy Brumby.
You want to give me this big word? Exclusionary policy making by our beloved leaders continue to only benefit the elite. Are the elite the only ones who matter in Bermuda? That's kind of what Elmore was saying as well, even though Monica said elite and Elmore said education is a Black people problem. But yeah. In 1977, per my pay records, paid $30 go to health insurance. Now $1,500 per month. And what, Kathy? $30? Are you serious? I get ill when I see how much money comes out for insurance. Ill. Because I'm sitting here like, I am paying for people who choose not to be healthy, and it makes me angry. Like, it makes me so angry.
But I think, again, that all goes back to education as well, not to schooling. But at the end of the day, there are people who cannot, and I know we've discussed this with health people, but if the only thing that you feel like you can afford, if the only thing, like you don't have time to exercise because you have to work multiple jobs. I mean, some people's state isn't their own fault. So I probably have a bit more sympathy in that space.
Yeah. I mean, it goes down to the cost of living, because you can sit here and bang this healthy eating drum all you like. Healthy eating costs a lot of money, okay? It costs a lot of money. In Bermuda, it's stupid expensive. I go to Buzz and get a smoothie, it's $14. I'm not knocking Buzz. I'm just saying that's what it costs, because everything is so expensive. It's insane.
And not everyone has a yard to grow their own food as either.
No, they don't.
Lee, how are you, sister?
Hot topics this morning. I'm loving it. I am loving it.
I mean, this is all Bermuda. I mean, there's challenges. There are challenges all over the place. Whether or not, I remember when we were fighting our fight, you had Stuart Haywood, who was fighting his fight with the environment. And so everyone's going to have their interests. Everyone's going to have their space where they focus on. My hope is that there's no one so laid back and comfortable that nothing concerns them.
You don't think there's people like that?
My hope.
There's a lot of people like that. It don't affect them, whatever.
But that's the thing. They think it doesn't affect them. So my hope is that, everyone, finds something of the challenges, and not only, not voices concerns or complaints, but we all find a way to address them and fix them, because there will always be challenges. I guess what we should be doing is collectively trying to overcome them together. But Lee, if I asked you to name what you think is Bermuda's biggest challenge, what would you say?
The cost of living.
Thank you.
Look, listen, I am 32 years old, and everybody keeps asking me, when am I having kids? Well, let me tell you something.
Listen, you I have two, and that.
Yeah, when I hear that daycare is the cost of rent, I'm like, I'm good. I'm gonna live vicariously through all of y'all.
A good daycare is gonna cost you $1,200 a month.
Yeah,
minimum.
No, it's no
minimum.
You heard it, folks. The consensus.
Again, vicariously living through all of you guys.
You can have them. You can take them whenever you like.
Let's get to the news break, and then we'll be back with Treasure Tannock. You heard it, folks. Cost of living. Everybody, come on. We got to do something about it. Lee, over to you.
Thanks, Jamala, Michaela, and good morning to everyone tuned in with us this morning. I hope everyone is having a great start to their day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for our daily hour news break. So here's what's going on in today's top stories. The General Secretary of the Bermuda Union of Teachers has stepped down after 22 years on the job at the request of the union. Mike Charles confirmed that he was asked to quit and that he left the job in early June, but he refused to discuss the reasons for his departure and referred questions to the union. Mr. Charles is said to have expressed reservations about the government's plans to phase out middle schools and close some primary schools. Now, he boldly stated that he was always had a problem with the idea of consultation with the PLP government and said that he feels it is all about politics, which shouldn't be a part of education. However, Mr. Charles has wished the process well. He became the BUT General Secretary in early 1999 after his predecessor Milton Scott became a government minister following the Progressive Labour Party general election victory of 1998 and stepped down from the role. It is unknown at this time who will be his successor. In other news, police are seeking to continue their crackdown on road offenses by extending Operation Vega for another 3 months. Now, Commissioner of Police Stephen Corbishley revealed yesterday that the operation, which was launched back in July, could also be boosted by an increase in fines for traffic offenses. He was speaking after a meeting with Transport Minister Lawrence Scott last month to discuss ways to improve safety on the roads. Now, he said Mr. Scott agreed to consider a review of how fixed penalty fines to ensure they reflected the seriousness of offenses and they were a good deterrent to make motorists think twice. Belco yesterday awarded $200,000 worth of scholarships to 14 young Bermudians so they can study for engineering qualifications. Now, 4 students received scholarships of up to $25,000 each to help them with their studies, while another 10 who were studying for degrees in science, technology, engineering, and maths receives Belco's STEM scholarships valued at between $5,000 and $20,000. Belco President Wayne Kane said it is more important than ever that future employees receive advanced education as the necessary skill sets as the company moves to the island to a more sustainable engineering energy future. He then wished the students well in their studies and said he looks forward to their return. And police are seeking the public's assistance in locating missing person Terrence Manger. Mr. Manger was last seen around midday on Monday near the Church Street entrance to the Washington Mall, but was last heard from around 6:30 p.m. on that same day. Now, at the time, he is said to be wearing light blue shorts, a white polo shirt, and cream-colored slippers, and may have been carrying a gray-colored knapsack. He may also be in possession of his vehicle, a dark gray-colored Kia Rio, registration number is 07480. Now, he is described as white, standing 5 feet 11 inches tall, of slim build, weighing about 160 pounds, currently bald, and has a full ginger and salt and pepper beard. Police say he is known to frequent the Clearwater area, Front Street, Bars Bay Park, and the Squash Club in Devonshire. Anyone that may have seen Mr. Manger is urged to contact police immediately. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 86 and a low near 80 degrees. There will be a mix of sun and clouds with a possible early morning shower. Today, we'll see another hot and humid August day. A cell of high pressure will remain near overhead during the next few days, bringing more dry and sunny weather with light and variable winds. There remains the outside chance of a shower, mainly during the early mornings. That's all for our daily hour news break. Let's head back to Jamal and Michaela in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
All righty. Thank you so much, Lee. Just real quickly, there was a press release right before we came on air that Mr. Manger had been located safe and well. So just an update with that. That's good news to hear. Real quickly, though, you started your cast with the situation at the Bermuda Union of Teachers and Mr. Charles. That, wow. Some of those quotes.
Yeah, well, he has been known to definitely speak out against the government if he feels or deems necessary. So, kudos for him. He has been in the job, like I said, for 22 years. So while some may say, thank you for your service, it's time to usher in some new blood, others will also say, his service was a job well done while he was in the position. So,
well, kudos to him. And hopefully the next person to come in does what needs to be done for the benefit of the children in the system. Lee, one day closer to your big day. Enjoy your day today, and it's almost party time.
Yes, it is.
All right. See you tomorrow.
See you guys later.
Bye, Lee.
All righty. So we'll be back. We should have Treasure Tannock backstage on camera ready to go with you. Do not go anywhere. Always love having young people on the show, well accomplished and ready to accomplish good things. If you haven't already, you know what to do. Share. Make sure your friends, your family are tuned in to support this young person. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah.
Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
We're welcoming back the often featured Whole Food veterans Bragg Live Food Products, renowned for their live probiotic organic raw cider vinegar and savory seasonings. Paul Bragg is the man behind the products that has originated health food stores, restaurants, and spas, and promoted nutrition education through the media, helping lay the foundation for the enlightened way we make healthful choices when we shop for and prepare food. This month we're featuring Bragg Organic Raw and Unfiltered Apple Cider Vinegar and Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Michaela Ian. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and our friends over at Channel 82, where you can stream this and many other locally produced shows. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. She is the recipient of the 2001.
You said that earlier, and I was like,
I keep saying 2001, and you didn't correct me. You didn't correct me. What type of system?
And I was like, wow.
Was she even born in 2001? Come on, Jamel.
I mean,
2021.
She was born in 2001.
Okay, because I didn't want to age her, right?
Because she's getting her master's. So
yes, okay. 2021, folks. Michaela just letting me sync myself. You know, this is what she's doing it. But Treasure Tannock is a 2021 recipient of the Duperreault Fellowship. Let's bring it on before I trip up again. Good morning, Treasure.
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. Let me just say I was alive in 2001. I might have only been 2, but I was alive.
He was alive. See?
My apologies for the introduction. It happens sometimes. What's written and what's read is completely 2 different things in my space. But I'm no Michaela Ian. Sorry.
He needs to practice. I'm just saying.
I need to take her course. But Treasure, thank you for doing this. I'm coming on.
Of course.
As we get into the convo, you're the recipient of the 2021 Duperreault Fellowship Award. Speak to us for those who don't know. What is it, and how did you receive the award?
Of course. So the Duperreault Fellowship is essentially a fellowship targeted towards substance abuse in Bermuda. And that regards the prevention, the treatment, and the intervention services available on island and the treatment of individuals struggling with those services. And so the fellowship essentially was started by Brian Duperreault and the ACE Foundation in 2004. And since then has nominated an amazing selection of clinicians, and that includes art therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers, individuals targeted in the Bermuda community to serving our substance abuse and our substance misuse population. And so within that, I am the 2021 Duperreault Fellow, and it's essentially going to be a fellowship that's going to support my master's at NYU in drama therapy. And that is, that's the Duperreault Award.
Nice.
Awesome. So how does it feel to be this year's winner? And we're going to go into a lot more about like your background and all that, so you don't have to go into that yet.
Oh, of course. It feels absolutely amazing. As any scholarship recipient can tell you, can explain to you. Getting a scholarship is such a weight lifted off of, your back, your parents' back, your village's back. As you both spoke about earlier, the cost of living in Bermuda is outrageous, right? And so when we think about, how people want to go and better themselves in school, and we look at the opportunities available for Bermudians, sometimes you can get discouraged if you're not going into insurance or into law or into the medical field, right? And so just being able to, really step forward in a path that I think is meant for me, which is the clinical and mental health path, specifically with theater and with substance abuse, right? Not only do I feel supported by my community to say, hey, we do see a path for you. We do see opportunities and career opportunities for you, but we also want to support you in this journey, which also significantly lessens the stress that I have about moving to New York, right? So that was just amazing within itself. And then also being a fellow takes that scholarship aspect one step further, because within a fellowship, it really makes you think about, okay, well, what are the core values of the people that I'm representing? Who are the what is the communication that I can forge and the networks that can be made within this fellowship, because it's a level of holding you accountable to the people that you're representing, which I find really, really not only stress relieving, but also motivational.
Indeed.
Absolutely. So can you give us a little bit about your educational background?
Of course. So I started at Word Academy through and through, hashtag so much more than a place to learn. I went to Word Academy up until about P4. And then I moved away to England with my mom, who went to the University of Bristol to become a lawyer. After about 4 years, I moved back and went back to Word Academy and finished off high school there. And then I went to Spelman, which is the #1 HBCU in America. And that is a really, really important part of my life because my mom went and my grandma went and all my godmas went.
Oh, I love it.
And, right? And so Spelman was a really, really influential and educational development step for me, because I believe it really molded who I was, not only professionally, but personally. So now as I move forward to NYU, I'm so much more confident in myself, which has done wonders for how I seek out and apply different knowledge areas and knowledge sets.
And real quickly, for those who don't know, and I'm sure most of our audience does, but you said HBCU. Just explain what that is for those who may not know.
Really?
Of course. Of course. So HBCU is a historically Black college or university. Big ones would be Hampton, Howard, Morris Brown, Clark Atlanta. No one does it like Spelman, but I'm gonna be biased. But you know, my dad went to Hampton, so anybody out there that's a Hampton fan through and through, I have friends at Howard as well. It's a hub, not specifically for Black people, because that could be discriminatory, but has an influence on the African American and the Black diaspora, and how that has molded individuals who identify as being Black or African American.
Yes, one of our producers is a Hampton person. So that's what we call
Very
him.
nice.
Or alum. That's what Hampton alum. Sorry. Go ahead.
Very nice. Very nice.
So earlier you talked about drama therapy. So can you let us know what that is and what you hope to accomplish?
Of course. So most times when I say the phrase drama therapy, Bermudians think that I'm going to give therapy to actors. And although that's a little bit true, what drama therapy essentially is using therapeutic theatrical tools to address clinical populations, right? So it's going into the therapy session, going into the clinical world, and using themes such as characters, storytelling, improvisation, poetry, to really speak to the subconscious of an individual. And then also when we look at differently able populations, so individuals who psychotherapy is not as accessible to them, right? So we're looking at autism, Asperger's. Drama therapy really helps to bring out that story that's from within them, and that can be via charades, that can be via drama games. It's really providing a clinical opportunity for individuals whose psychotherapy might not be as accessible to them.
I like that breakdown. So let's talk about trauma and family dynamics in Bermuda. Okay. So what have you learned about the various modes of therapy and working within cultural and societal norms within our small community? Because I just feel like, because Bermuda's so small, there's like so much generational trauma. There's just, and a lot of people are in survival mode rather than thriving. Yeah. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think it's evident within our culture that one of the biggest issues that we have with generational trauma would be the response that we have to it, which is drinking. It's drinking, it's drinking over cup match, it's drinking over, you know, any reggae festival. It could be smoking marijuana. It can be anything that we use to kind of combat what we don't know is there. And I'm not saying it's the fault of anybody, because if you've never been taught, if you've never experienced therapy, right, you don't know that there's necessarily a problem. So when we look at generational trauma and we look at family dynamics in Bermuda, number one, the biggest issue that we have is going to be the response, like I just mentioned. So it's going to be the drug and alcohol use. When we look at the core issue, it's going to be, well, how are we working through these issues, right? If we're not using drugs and alcohol, how do we identify, oh, this family dynamic is not okay for me. It's not okay to not see my dad, you know, every day. You know, it's not okay for me to have an uncle that's sleeping, so close to my living quarters. Like it's about the personal space within that as well. And so I believe when we talk about family structure and we talk about family dynamics in Bermuda, it begins with the knowledge and the education about what a strong family structure looks like and what generational trauma is. And then once we get that basis down, we can start to talk about the effects of it and then the ramifications of those poor effects.
Oh, that was so good. Like, I'm such a proponent of therapy. I love my therapist and I talk about therapy all the time because I feel like so many of us could benefit because then we can take out that time that we need to heal, So I think I was going to ask you, why do you think this work is important in Bermuda? But I think you kind of addressed it in that question, because it's when you talk about the substance abuse, like people don't want to go there. Like they don't want to go there, but you're so right. And I love that answer. So what would you say to encourage other young Bermudians to go into this field or even to be open-minded about therapy?
So I think therapy just starts with trying it, right? If you think about your body, right, your physical body, even we were just talking about dentists. Yes, hashtag Smiles Inc. That's where I go to the dentist. But when you think about your body, right, you have to go to the doctor and have a physical once a year. That is what you need to be deemed medically okay, right? To medically keep going. If you don't go to your physical and let's say you get injured, you either rush to your practitioner or you're rushed to the hospital. That's deemed okay. Our mind affects our behavior. Our brain affects our behavior. Our brain is a working organism that controls our entire body. Just like you run to the doctor, just like you get checkups at the doctor, you should get checkups on your mind, right?
Yes.
So when I go to see my therapist, it's not because I have an issue all the time. No, trust me, I have my issues, but it's not specifically because I have an issue. It's because I want to make sure everything is okay. Because there's somebody out there that got a degree that enables them to identify how missing a bus or how tripping over your son's shoelaces can mess up your entire day. And so instead of spilling your coffee in the morning and then going into work horribly mad, which then affects your employees, it affects your cohort, it affects your customers, right? Just as you go to the doctor to get a checkup, that's what therapy is. It's a checkup. And then for anybody that you're in charge of, for anybody that you work with, for all brothers, mothers, sisters, cousins, right? That relationship that you have with yourself affects the relationship you have with other people. And so if you want to be a better you, if you want to build that relationship with your dad, it all starts with understanding, well, what am I going through? And that's not a solo journey. You can do it by yourself, but it's going to be very difficult. Having somebody else there to do it with you, somebody to take that burden. Yeah, a lot of people find it in religion. Hey, we're in Bermuda, but having a licensed medical professional sit down and say, this isn't a solo problem, you feel so much better. You feel so much easier. And I think one of the main deterrents of therapy right now can be the pricing, which is why it's beautiful that we have options in Bermuda, such as counseling, right? Such as counselors at school, such as clinical counselors that have a cheaper opportunity to really talk to people, have a more value for your money rather than a psychiatrist, right? Who could be a little bit more expensive. But it's about taking that first step and saying, I can't really do it by myself. Or even if you think you can, saying, I shouldn't do it by myself. And trusting the services that are provided to you. Because if you look in your insurance, they're there, right? Hopefully. And if you look at your workplace area, they should have somebody, even if it's your HR rep, on board to talk to you because you need to be spoken to.
Yeah, no, I love that you said that because I just feel like because Bermuda is such a Christian community, there's like, oh, pray about it. And yes, of course, you should pray about whatever it is that you're going through, but prayer is not going to solve these things. That's why I love that you talked about a licensed therapist, someone who has a degree in helping you fix this problem. So thank you so much for that.
Of course.
Yeah, I definitely want to touch on, I want to highlight something you said. And I like the term you used about the physical, right? Regardless of how you feel, most of us go for our annual physical, right? And that's just to make sure everything is okay. And I think that therapy is looked at as something that you only go to a therapist when something's wrong. And it shouldn't be looked at that way. So I really hope people, from everything you said just now, take that. Like, let's not just go to people when we feel like something's wrong. They're there for more than that. Like they're there to, you might just want to be talk about, have a regular conversation like we're having this morning, and figure out that oh man, like maybe that's why I'm feeling a bit down. You might not see, not understand it. So thank you for that. But I've been listening to you attentively, and I must say I love waking up very early, preparing and doing this show because of conversations like this and guests.
Yes.
I really do. I've enjoyed listening to you, and when I hear people and watch people like you, the first thing that comes to mind is, who are your mentors? Where do you draw your inspiration from?
Of course. So I don't have just one role model, which has, I think, become a theme for a lot of people in my generation. I was born in 98, and a lot of my friends don't just have one role model. It's this metaphor of like a village, which is so important to us, because at the end of the day, for me specifically, there's nobody like me at all. There's nobody that has my unique talents, my unique skills, my unique strengths. And to draw inspiration from just one person would be to limit myself to all the capabilities that I'm capable of becoming. So, in an honest answer, a lot of the people who I draw my inspiration from would be a lot of Black women in my family. So that's going to be my mother and my grandmother. They taught me how to carry myself, how to speak, how to study, how knowledge and things like that. And then in every other sphere that I operate in, which is, clinically, which is going to be artistry, I draw from Viola Davis, I draw from Meryl Streep. I look at all of the skills that a lot of gorgeous people hold. And then I say, okay, this is how you crafted and developed that skill. I want to do that similarly, but to do it just like you, I'm not going to rob your journey. I don't want to mimic your journey, because that's not my journey. You know what I mean? There's no other Bermudian named Treasure, 22, with an afro that wants to study drama therapy in New York. So it's going to be very hard for me to model myself after somebody else. But what I can do is look at all of the amazing people around me, politicians, religious leaders, actors, philosophers, and say, I admire that skill about you. I want to see that skill in myself. Talk to me about how you did it. And that's how I carry myself.
No, I love it. And hopefully people take heed from you. They don't listen to me. But no, I agree with you, because I have tons of mentors. Some of them write me after this show, you shouldn't have said that. You need to go retract that tomorrow. Michaela, sometimes I consider her a sister and a mentor. Hopefully she sees me the same. But, the things we say to one another before and after we come on the air. But it's important that, and again, highlighting what you said, you can't be anyone else, and you shouldn't want to be anyone else. There's only one you. But what you can do is, draw some inspiration, take what may work for them, and try to, apply some things to what you're already doing to improve or enhance what you're doing. So I appreciate that. I love the energy. I love where you're coming from with it. Is there anything you would leave our audience with as you go off to New York and continue your journey? What would you leave them with? Anyone that's watching this?
Of course, I would just leave with the same sentiment of go to therapy. Go to therapy, go to therapy, go to therapy. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with anybody else that's around you, maybe your family structure. But I think that before we even begin to think about how to tackle Bermuda's bigger issues, we need to look at who is in Bermuda, and we need to look at individual smaller issues. Because before I want a politician to start and dictate to me about how they need to support the youth and support education, and this is not, any political platform, but before I want an individual to lead me, I want them to lead themselves.
Yes.
Right? I want our community to be stronger, and as a stronger community who respects one another, then we can move forward. If you don't have respect for yourself, you won't have respect for your partner, and then we won't be on the same platform when it comes to reform.
Indeed. Treasure Tannock, everyone, the Duperreault Fellowship recipient of 2021.
Just say 2021. It's easier.
2021.
Treasure, it's been a pleasure, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much. And I honestly would love to have you back as you're during your journey, just to speak about how things are going for you in New York. Obviously dealing with a pandemic, and you just come on, breath of fresh air, ready to help the world and being who you are. So thank you for trusting.
Thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it.
No problem. All the best, Treasure.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Wow, she is an amazing person.
Absolutely. That was such a good convo.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I like how she tied in at the end. about the question was this morning about Bermuda's biggest concerns, and she said, we have to look at some of our smallest first. And look, folks, this is, I loved it. I appreciate young people with that type of energy.
Yes.
And I'm hopeful for Bermuda when I have these conversations with people like Treasure. So, folks, if you enjoyed that conversation, if you found it helpful, please, you know what to do. Give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Show Treasure some love. She was amazing, and so we have to get behind young Bermudians like this, and just push them on, and make sure that they have the tools they need. So, props to the Duperreault Fellowship for recognizing that. But we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to trip Michaela up with the Daily Play. And wrap it up and just have a review of today's show with Miss Treasure Tannock. So stick with us. Do not go anywhere. And if you haven't already, make sure you like, follow, and engage with us on
and
all
subscribe
of our social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So hit us up on all our social media platforms. If you haven't on Instagram yet, make sure you give us a like on Instagram, follow us, however it works. All right, we'll be right back after this. Do not go anywhere. We've got it today, folks.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
All righty, welcome back. It is time for the Daily Play. Thanks again to Medical House One Communications, Lindos, friends over at Channel 82, everyone who continues to support what we do. Time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Michaela, are you ready?
She was born ready.
Okay. Well, it's a name that place today, folks.
Okay.
So, a few weeks ago, we established that Nigeria is the largest African country in terms of population.
Yes.
Michaela.
Yes.
What is the largest African country in terms of land?
In terms of land?
She's Googling. She's got her phone. She's looking down, folks.
I'm not.
She's got her phone. She's looking down. She's looking down.
Egypt. It's not.
Help her out, folks. If you get this right, you get the you get a prize. Help her out.
South Africa? Oh my goodness. All right. I'm Googling.
We have a winner.
We do? Sudan? Algeria is I'm trying to cheat and it's not working. It is Algeria, yes. See?
Algeria. It's 919,595 square miles. Yes,
okay.
That is the largest African
country today. That's all right.
Someone said South Africa. South Africa is actually ninth.
It's definitely not South Africa.
Yeah, just under 500,000. So Carla John, we'll work on getting you a prize. Well, Carla John, you have to email us at engage@thedailyhour.com to get your prize. Actually, you're close, Monica Dunstan. Democratic Republic of Congo, I believe, is number 2.
Yeah.
I think, Democratic Republic of Congo is number 2. So it's second in terms of the largest. And then Sudan was number 3. Sudan actually was formerly the largest country in Africa until South Sudan formally split from it in 2011.
Okay.
So
fascinating. I love the questions based on Africa. I love it.
Yeah, Africa's good history, folks. Good history. So take these lessons, teach people about things that they maybe don't know. Kales, what are your final thoughts on today's show discussion? And of course, our wonderful guest, Treasure Tannock.
Yes, I love the conversation today. I firmly stand in camp. Our biggest challenge is cost of living. Like, I stand there because, I mean, it's easy to say education, it's easy to say tourism, it's easy to say all these things, but when you are an island and everything is just astronomical, it makes it difficult to go out and get an education. It makes it difficult for tourists to want to come here because everything's so expensive. You know what I mean? So it's just, there's so much that we can do. And with the conversation with Treasure, I loved it. As I've said time and time again, I talk about it in my own platforms. I'm a massive proponent of therapy. I have sessions with my therapist. Shout out Dr. H. I have sessions with him every other week religiously, and I look forward to them because, like you said, it's not just about being in crisis. It's having conversations. It's being able to have conversations with someone who's not biased. You know, it's an objective conversation, and then also giving me the tools that I need to navigate day-to-day life, whether it's dealing with my kids, whether it's work stuff, whether it's personal stuff, whatever. So I highly encourage, if your insurance covers it, or at least covers a good bit of it, go get a therapist. Like, go do it. Seriously, your life will change and you'll be able to heal, because we all have generational trauma. We all have these things. And like Treasure said, we hit the bottle. Like, as a society, that's what we do.
Yeah. I guess it's interesting that we mentioned alcohol and she mentioned marijuana, cannabis. And I never even thought, and I guess because it's just been so cultural, I never looked at it as that, even though you've heard stories over the years that people turn to substances. But I always looked at alcohol as a cultural thing for Bermuda. So it's always interesting. I wonder how many people, if they actually went to see a therapist, would actually say, this is
listen, my father had substance abuse issues, my biological father, and his mother died when he was 28, 29, never did anything about it. And up until he died last year, substance abuse. And I honestly think that if he had taken out the time to heal with the issues that he had, he might not have been in that situation. So that's why I'm like, I'm not going down that road. So I'm going to do what I got to do to take care of me so I can be the best Michaela.
Makes sense. Thanks again to everyone. I really definitely did appreciate the discussion. Look, when we ask these questions, folks, it's not about anybody being right. It's really just having conversation to see how close we can get to solutions. So regardless of what your opinion was, education, cost of living, it's really about finding a way to get to a space where we can actually find solutions to the problems that we face as a country. We'll have more in-depth topics with focus on maybe the cost of living. What can we do to lower the cost of living? That was something that someone asked a few weeks ago. What can we do to improve tourism and education and so on? So we'll continue to have these conversations. As far as Treasure, it really was a breath of fresh air. Sometimes we get our minds, we think that the only young Bermudians that exist are all over social media. There are a lot of young Bermudians that don't even use it. There are a lot of young Bermudians that you won't see out and about in clubs or drinking or just enjoying life as you know it. So it was really, really a wealth of inspiration to listen to her speak with us this morning. So I'm looking forward to hearing great things from her. Michaela, you got some daily inspiration from us?
I got it. Ready?
For us, yep.
All right. You, Jamal, are magic.
Yes,
Never forget that.
Yes.
You like it, right?
I like that one.
No, but seriously, we're all magic, and I think we forget it. I think we forget how incredible we are. And that conversation with Treasure, like you said, she was such a breath of fresh air. To be that young and that aware, that self-aware, that, incredible. So shout out to her parents, because they've done an amazing job. Shout out to her village. I love to see it, and I cannot wait to see what she does in the future, because she's about to blaze some trails.
Indeed, indeed. Well, folks, we have Eugene Dean of the Bermuda Freedom Alliance tomorrow. Should be a very interesting conversation, as that group has challenged many of the things regarding the pandemic and vaccination rules by the government of Bermuda. So you don't want to miss that. Before we go, one last comment. Sheree Deal says that Bermuda's biggest challenge is resolving trauma. I think many would agree with you. And Mark's Arthur C. Phillips says the topic of alcohol abuse in Bermuda should be one all on its own. So I think many would agree with you as well, Mark. But on that note, thanks again to our partners, Medical House One Communications and Lindos, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Michaela Ann. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, please do make it a great day. Peace.
Just